Okay, so don't jump into today's lesson until you are really, really confident with your fills and feeling where one is. If you're still feeling like your fills are kind of on edge and you tend to lose your rhythm as you're doing your fill before you hit your crash, then don't jump into today's lesson because it's just going to confuse all of that. You need to have a really steady, concrete feel, concept, more important, the feel of beat one and where that beat one is, because that beat one in this lesson is going to happen without you. So before we were doing fills, and then on beat one, we were hitting a crash, usually with a kick, and then going right back into our beat. So if whether we had a quarter note beat or an eighth note beat or 16th note beat, whatever, we'd go crash, and then we'd be right back into our beat afterwards. So we'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, crash, and by beat 2 we were back to the snare. So along with a some kind of backing track, it sounds something like this. Because of the beats that we've been doing so far in our lessons, usually you have a snare on 2. So we have a kick on 1 and a snare on 2. It's really important that you understand that concept. We have a kick on 1 and a snare on 2, because now we're going to try to put our crash on 2, which means before we were on beat 1 with the kick, this time we're going to still do our kick on beat 1, but we're going to fill past the break or fill into the next measure or fill into beat 2. These all mean the same thing. The break is just the measure break. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where the break in the measure would be. So 1, 2, 3, 4, then you'd have a break, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Not a break in time, but a break in the music. That's where you'd have the end of the measure right over here. So filling past the break or filling past the measure means we're going to kick still, but then we're going to wait until our snare to crash. It's going to be a little bit weird, and I've had the most success with students if you give me 2 kicks and then a snare. So it'd be 1 and 2. Try that without the crash first with a beat. So something like this. Put that crash this time. So this time we're going to do a fill, but instead of crashing on 1, we're going to do the kick, kick, snare like we just did, but then we're going to crash with the snare. If you haven't practiced that other thing yet, pause the video right now, practice that, just playing your regular fill, but instead of crashing on 1, play kick, kick, snare, and be back into the beat. So then this time we're going to go kick, kick, snare, and crash on it, and then go right back into the beat, remembering that now I'm on beat 2. So where most people mess up on this is when they hit the crash, they feel that as 1, like 1, 2, 3, 4. But this is already 2. 1, 2, 3. So the next thing is going to be the kick and then the snare. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the beat doesn't matter really very much. The idea is you're going to get the crash on beat 2. So with our track, it sounds something like this. automatically filling past the break doesn't mean that you're on 2 or even that you have a snare on 2. It just means that you're not crashing exactly on 1. You're waiting a little bit longer and then putting the crash in there. Kind of gives that extra little bit of anticipation, little oomph there on your crash, because everyone expecting it on 1, they didn't get it on 1. So when you finally give them that crash that you've been filling into, it feels all that much more satisfying. Like all concepts that we work on for drums, overuse it, use it everywhere, and then be careful not to overuse it in your regular playing. You want it to just kind of like fall into your playing. So practice it so much that when you go back and you're not thinking about it anymore, it just kind of leaks into your playing. It doesn't take over all of your playing. This thing, a little bit faster, would be something that is not faster. Would be something like this. You can feel that, like that, having that delayed there just kind of feels like, oh, I was expecting it to come in a little bit earlier there. In that case, the last couple times I wasn't even doing a full measure fill. I was just doing the like a 3 and a 4 and then a kick snare with the crash there. So you can put the crash anywhere you want that's not on beat 1. But like I said, for most of my students, I found that doing this thing with the kick snare kind of gets you it's kind of the entryway into it, so you can kind of feel what that feels like to not do that on beat 1. And then after you do that, you can experiment with other ways to get that crash on, the and of 1 or the and of 2 or on beat 3 would be really pushing it back farther. But the whole concept right now is just that you get used to the idea that, okay, so that crash doesn't always have to be right on beat 1 and go right back into the beat. There's some other options there too. That kind of gets you ready for the multi-measure fills that we're going to do next. But before we get there, make sure coming into this lesson, you got a really good sense of 1, because like I said, that 1 is happening now without you. You've got a kick there, but there's nothing else there to really emphasize that beat 1, and then you got to get right back into the beat. Make sure you're not getting back into the beat on beat 1. You got to get back into the beat wherever you are in that measure. So practice that up. Send me your videos. But until next time, go explore, mess up, have fun. Good luck.